Now, the economy and the possibility of a default on U.S. debt, major topics of a conversation in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right now. Here are some of the nation's top economic and money minds. They're all making a meeting, trying to come up with some kind of consensus. Bloomberg economics editor Michael McKee is right in the thick of it, and he's standing by with James Bullard. He is the president of the St. Louis Fed. Michael McKee.
Well, Pimm, certainly this morning's dismal GDP report got everybody's attention as the conference here kicked off. And then Jim Bullard just gave a speech that got everybody's attention again because he suggested maybe this is what we should be seeing. You're looking at a different interpretation of how the economy should be developing these days.
Yeah, in my talk, I wanted to get at the idea that if you think the economy was in a bubble over the last decade, you probably shouldn't be comparing to the peak of that bubble when you're thinking about where we are today. You should be comparing to something that takes out the bubble and that looks at something that was would have been more moderate fundamental growth in the economy over the last decade. So I wanted to try to get at that idea.
And you're suggesting that maybe 1.7% growth is trend about where the economy should be?
Well, if the economy grew on a fundamental basis at 1.75% over the last decade, that would put you about where we are right now, and you'd be back on trend right now. So that's a very different way of thinking about things. But I do want to get at this idea that, you know, if you think some of the growth in the last decade was driven by a bubble, then you shouldn't be counting on that to all come back. You don't want to be reinflating the bubble.
Mm-hmm. Well, that certainly has implications for monetary policy. The other implication is that you don't bring down the unemployment rate very far.
Yeah, well, unemployment's a big problem, and one of the problems with bubble-like phenomena in the economy is that you devote a lot of resources to sort of unproductive activities, and then that goes away, and now you got all these resources tied up in that, and they all have to find somewhere else to go. That takes a long time. You got a lot of unemployment. People have to switch fields. It's very difficult.
So are you suggesting, bottom line, that maybe the Fed has been fighting the wrong battle?
Well, I think we should think about this issue and think about how we want to interpret where we are today versus where we would be in a fundamental economy that had operated over the last decade. That's the debate I'd like to see, and I've struggled to get that going, but maybe I got it going today.
Well, where we would be raises the question of where we should be. If 1.7% is trend now, where could you target and how would you get there to raise that?
Well, we'd all like to have faster growth, and for that, I think you need not counter-cyclical policies like the Fed has, but you need something that focuses more on the medium term. We talk about better human capital development, better tax policy, all kinds of things, better technology development, better firm formation, better capital formation. Those are the things that you know from the literature are going to drive medium-term growth. They might not help you in the next couple of quarters, but they would help you over the longer term if you get a set of policies in place that are like that.
Now, those are the kind of policies that would be driven on the fiscal side by the politicians in Washington, and that may be the literature, but it doesn't seem like anybody's read that literature on Capitol Hill.
Well, they'll talk about it. Different politicians will talk about it, but of course those are difficult issues. They're intractable, and you know, you talk about something like education in the U.S. That's a very difficult issue, and so on. And but if you wanted to improve the growth rate, that's where you got to be, and that's what you got to be working on.
Dennis Lockhart and I were talking this morning about how you guys are sort of like the guys who come along sweeping up after the elephants. Whatever happens in that parade down in Washington, you have to clean up the mess. How worried are you that there will be a mess, either because they make a deal and cut too much, or they don't make a deal and something bad happens to the markets or the economy?
Well, it would be a serious matter if we didn't get an increase in the debt ceiling and if we defaulted on any of our obligations. And so I think that has unpredictable consequences for the U.S. economy. It's imperative that the Congress and the White House get together and make a deal on this. We've had lots of budget battles over many, many years. We've been able to get to an answer in the past. I think we should be able to this time. I don't think we're at too much danger, as far as I can tell, of cutting too much. I think we've got a very large fiscal deficit at this point, and the numbers that are being talked about some of them are substantial, but they're not, anything that can be done on this, I think, would be a positive for GDP growth. It wouldn't be a negative, because it would be getting our fiscal house in better order than it is right now.
I just have a few seconds left. You have to supervise the financial firms in your district.
Yeah.
How concerned are you, or how concerned are they about market disruptions because of this whole thing?
Well, we try to maintain good communication with our banks and any other regulated entities that we have. They call us up all the time, our regulatory staff, and we try to provide the best answers that we can. I think we don't have that much clarity right now about the situation, but we try to stay in pretty good contact on these technical issues.
I think Pimm has a question for you.
I do indeed. James Bullard, inflation. I was speaking to a trader today, Kenny Najalik. He was saying, are you aware of the frustration that most Americans have with the way that the Federal Reserve looks at inflation? And when are you going to stop looking at core inflation and looking at things like energy and food, things that people really spend their money on?
Hey, I'm your man. I wrote that the core is rotten, and we should start focusing more on headline inflation. You can check it out on my webpage, what a recent speech I gave. But I've argued pretty strenuously that it's inappropriate to be throwing out food and energy prices, and especially in this environment where those are the prices that are going up the most. Those are the key shopping experiences for many households. It really hurts Fed credibility to be ignoring those prices when we're talking about inflation. So I'm very much in favor of looking at the headline number. I would smooth it out a little bit by looking at it over the last year or something, but I'm perfectly happy to look at the headline number.
I think a lot of people got the headline and the core number today and saw that there was something to worry about. Jim Bullard, thank you very much for joining us today. James Bullard, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis.
All right, thank you very much. Michael McKee reporting from Wyoming.